What's up guys, my name is Sam and today we're going to go over what college coaches want from each individual position. First thing that I want to address before we really jump into the video is that there are a number of things that are really important for every single position, like shooting, rebounding, defending, but these things are way more important for certain positions than others. Like for instance, if you're a big guy, you're like 6'10", you play center or forward, obviously rebounding is going to be way more important than it is if you're, say, a 5'9" point guard. And the same goes for shooting. If you're a 5'9" point guard, obviously your shooting is going to be way more important than if you're a 6'10" center or forward. Okay, so the first position that we're going to go over is point guards. And they're arguably the most important position on the basketball court. The number one thing that coaches are going to be looking for in point guards is, can you control the game? We all know that feeling of being in a game with a point guard that really knows what he's doing, who just kind of makes you feel like we're going to win this game, like we can control the tempo of the game. That's the number one thing. Can you control the tempo of the game? Can you really manage a game? Number two thing for a point guard is, can you distribute the ball? A lot of point guards out there are score first mentality, and unfortunately that's kind of how it's taught these days. A lot of people watch the NBA, that's their main source of basketball knowledge, and there are a lot of point guards out there that are score first. You see guys like Russell Westbrook that really take it on themselves. They do distribute the ball, but they also score a lot, and that's great for the NBA, but for the most part, particularly at the junior college level or the mid-major to D2, D3 programs, they're looking for somebody that can control a game and distribute the ball. Finally, I'd say the other important thing, now shooting is really important too, but I would say the third most important thing is defending. Can you defend your position? So many coaches are looking for really scrappy little point guards that can go and not necessarily steal a ball, but just make the other team uncomfortable for however minutes the game is. So those, I would say, are the three most important things as a point guard, and if you're looking to get noticed at any college level, those are the things that I would focus on. Okay, and we'll go in order, and the next position we'll talk about is shooting guards. Now, for a shooting guard, as the name suggests, probably the most important thing that you're going to do as a shooting guard is be able to shoot. A lot of coaches are looking for shooting guards that can shoot. Big surprise there. Because ball handling is not necessarily going to be the number one thing that you're doing, it's still going to be important, but it's not quite as important as shooting. Being able to dribble and score are really important. That's probably the second most important thing about being a shooting guard would be your ball handling capabilities. They still want you to be able to handle the ball. Third most important, I would say, still probably defending. Particularly those one through three spots, rebounding is going to take more of a back seat, although, as I'll discuss in just a minute, at the small forward position, I would say rebounding is definitely in the top three. Definitely, I would say if you're a shooting guard, take a lot of time working coming off of screens, doing a lot of pull-up jump shots, just kind of being an all-around scorer, I'd say, is really important at the shooting guard position. The next position that we'll talk about is the three, kind of a hybrid position. So they're going to ask you to probably be on the wing a lot, do a lot of driving, a lot of the stuff that a shooting guard does, but as the name would suggest, you're a forward, you're just a little bit smaller than a power forward or a center. The three things for a small forward that I would say are the most important, number one, I would say, can you play inside and out? So the beauty of a small forward is he can take the game inside and out, and he can be kind of a mismatch. You see a lot of guys in the NBA that play small forward, guys like Kevin Durant, who are tall enough to where they can guard any position on the floor for the most part. They can play inside and out. So I'm going to go ahead and say, number one, being kind of a matchup issue. Number two, I would say defending. Defending is very important, and that kind of goes along with being a matchup issue. So if you can defend all five positions on the floor, being a long, lanky, athletic guy that plays defense and plays hard, you're going to find a spot on a team somewhere. Number 3, I would say, is rebounding. I can't tell you how many times small forwards on my college team have been the highest rebounders on the team, because everybody else does a lot of boxing out. A lot of the time these guys are athletic and long enough to where they can go chase the ball outside of the lane and go and get those really tough rebounds, and teams really need that. You'll find a spot on a team if you can rebound, defend, and be a matchup problem at the 3. The next position that we're going to talk about is the 4, and the 4 is usually one of, if not the toughest position on the court, as in they're going to play really, really hard. The biggest thing I would say for a power forward is, are you really, really physical? Because you might not necessarily be the biggest, but they're going to ask you to cover probably some pretty big guys. I know a lot of the time when I was playing junior college basketball, I'd play against a lineup where the tallest guy was about 6'9" or 6'10", and then the power forward is about the same size, and they're going to try and really, really cram the ball inside. So if you can drive from the perimeter, it's great, but for the most part, I would say the most important thing is, can you score from the inside? And are you really, really tough and physical? So number 1, I would say, is physicality. Coaches are always going to look for forwards that are really physical. Number 2, I would say, is rebounding. Rebounding, particularly as you get closer and closer to the center, like I said, is going to get really, really important. So I'd say rebounding is the second most important thing that you can do as a forward. Number 3, can you score inside? Power forwards aren't necessarily going to be the scorers on the team, but if you can become like a LaMarcus Aldridge, like a Paul Millsap, or an Al Horford, then you can be a huge help to your team. Finally, we're going to talk about the 5 spot, otherwise known as the center. Now, as you may have guessed, I'm going to say rebounding is the most important thing that you can do as a center. I don't care if you can hardly walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. If you can rebound and you are tall, you will have a spot on some sort of team. You're going to be a project. You're going to be able to play somewhere. I've definitely played with and against lots of guys like that are not even remotely polished. That's why a lot of the time you'll see these guys imported from other countries, or just that have never played basketball before in their lives, and they'll get these opportunities to play at these small colleges. So if you can rebound and you really have a high motor to do that, you'll get a spot somewhere. Number 2, I would say, is defense. You need to be able to contest shots, block shots, just have a high motor and really contest a lot of stuff at the rim. You need to be big and strong so that you can't get back down, and just be an enforcer inside. It completely changes a game. Completely changes a game. And number 3, a lot of what separates really tall guys, like I said, a lot of them are projects. A lot of what separates them is having that basketball IQ. A lot of centers don't necessarily take things as seriously when it comes to basketball. When I said that point guards are usually the ones that need to have really high basketball IQ, it's because in order to get to the position that they've gotten to, given that they're smaller, they have to take the game really, really seriously. So a lot of big guys don't. And when you do take the game seriously and you really understand basketball, coaches will take notice of that. So if you can do things like pass, be really good out of the pick and roll, set really good and hard screens, and be an enforcer. A lot of the time as a center, it's going to be your job to call out a lot of screens and call out how you're going to defend them. Being smart at the center position is one of the most underrated things, and it will definitely get you a spot on a team. So anyway, guys, those are the things at each of the 5 positions that I believe, from my experience, college coaches are looking for. If you guys like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment. It really helps me out. And if you guys have any sort of ideas for future videos, things that you want to send me in for me to evaluate, I'd be happy to do so. You can just send me a message, or like I said, leave me a comment. But anyway, guys, till next time.